So, welcome to AY After Hours. I have been elected to do the opening this time. I have no idea why.
I do.
Maybe it's the elaborate blooper reel that we have in our archives.
Yep.
So, welcome. Thanks for listening and watching. Today, we're going to talk about something near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. I don't know if dear, but near. Supply chain. So, we decided to bring in some people that deal with something like this in their everyday work life. So here we have Brad and Ben joining us to give us some insights into what the last year and a half has looked like from a manufacturing perspective. So Brad and Ben, thank you for joining us.
You bet.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Ben is a self-proclaimed recovering introvert.
I am.
So we are going to draw you
Great.
out of that shell.
Thank you.
That's right. So tell us a little bit about yourselves, Brad, Ben, where you came, kind of your history, background with AY McDonald.
Go ahead, Ben.
Sure. I started with AY McDonald in June 2016 as a purchasing agent,
Okay.
and moved into a procurement specialist role a couple of years after that. And then about a year and a half ago, Brad, I think, moved into the purchasing manager role.
So for those who don't know, explain what procurement is, if you can.
I don't think anybody can. Procurement is really just buying goods to be
Okay.
used in manufacturing.
Okay,
That's the simplest way to put it.
got it.
Yep, I'm Brad Olberding, Vice President in Production Planning and Logistics. I've been here for 20 years. So I started out in inventory control and then went over to the sales side, worked in product management here, and then back into the purchasing and inventory control. So I once thought I was the young guy here. Now I'm becoming the old guy here. So I'm almost 20 years. So
Your beard is giving you away.
it's
I
the
see
gray.
some gray in there.
I know. It's
Well,
absolutely gray.
He actually is the youngest here, and do you know why?
Why?
Brad is actually only 11 and a half years old
Yep.
today.
I had a birthday sometime between yesterday and today.
Yeah.
Nice.
He was born on leap year,
Leap
on
Yep.
year.
February 29th, so he's only had like 11 birthdays.
You're aging very well
Yeah,
for
well-
11 and a half year old.
Well, even with the gray in the beard, yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know your titles, but what are some things like in everyday work life? What do you do? Like, what are some of the tasks that are involved in these responsibilities? Just so people can kind of understand how, as we get around to supply chain, how that might affect you.
I think the basis of I'll do inventory control and let Ben talk about purchasing, but the inventory control, we're scheduling the factories, we're ordering the parts we need to make our finished goods. A lot of communication with the factories and production people, and then with the purchasing group. And then after we kind of send the POs out to the suppliers, then Ben's group kind of takes over and has that relationship with the suppliers.
From a purchasing perspective, I dress up in my fireman's outfit out in the parking lot before I come into the building each day. But seriously, it's been in firefighting mode now for the past year for sure, and probably even the last half of 2020 when things started to swing back up. It takes a lot to get this train moving again, so that's where we're at.
Yeah, Ben, I tell him I always felt bad for him because everything seemed calm for quite a while, and then COVID hit. Ben came in right when COVID hit, and then
Great time.
everything's going down, and we're worried if we have to cancel POs and do all these things, and then COVID really never had as big of an impact as we thought, and now we're expediting everything. So
Right.
he hasn't had a day of calm since he's been in here.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
Is this probably the most stressful year and a half you've had in your career, do you think?
I'd say there's a lot of challenges. Stress is however you want to make
Perspective.
it. Yeah.
He's always smiling. I can never tell if he's stressed or not.
Sounds like a good man for the
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
Never let him see you sweat.
Yeah.
It's we've got a very good team in purchasing, PIC, everywhere. The people that we deal with, our coworkers internally, really make this thing go. I'm kind of along for the ride, cheerleader of sorts, and making sure that we hit targets that Brad and the management team hit. That's our main goal.
Yeah, and I'd say, I always compare this year to 2013. And you guys, none of you were probably around for 2013. So
Nope.
it was when we converted from leaded to no lead, and then at the same time put in our new ERP system. And I never thought I'd experience a year like that again, but it was pretty close in terms of stress level and how much work we had had to do these last couple of years.
So if I look at it from a very high level, it seems like Brad or Ben, you're dealing more on the outside, dealing with vendors and that sort of thing. Brad, you more on the inside. What are the two biggest challenges, both for you on the outside, dealing with those vendors, and Brad from the inside, dealing with manufacturing, that sort of thing?
From a supply chain side of things, lead times going out at the beginning of 2021 was our largest struggle, and that continues as we start 2022.
Right.
But it has stabilized, I think, in the last 3 or 4 months as far as suppliers' lead times. So at least we're giving Brad's team and PIC some good dates to hit when they should be ordering product to hit his manufacturing plans. And then, what was your second question?
As far
What's
as
your
on the
other
inside.
pain?
Yeah, on our side, company always believed in inventory, so we always had inventory. And now we're running low on inventory, and you're getting bigger backlogs. We're trying to keep enough work out there, get enough people hired, produce enough product, because we just want to take care of the customer.
Right.
And it's been a challenging year trying to do that. Our inventories are lower. We know we're not performing like most people as well as we have historically. So, just trying to get as much stuff out the door as we can so we can keep the customers happy has been the challenge. And it's hand in hand, because, we need the purchase parts to do that. We need the equipment, the people, and everything that, we need to have to get product out to our customers. So that's been much more of a challenge this year, and much different from years past where, we had inventory and we didn't have some of the supply challenges we had this year.
All right.
The other side of the supplier issue is labor. There's a lot of iron foundries that we deal with that struggle on getting labor.
Right.
It's really no different than what anybody at McDonald's is experiencing as well. So,
Are you seeing that same thing overseas as well?
overseas is a little bit different. We think they went through that wave back at the end of 2020 after COVID went through, and then the second COVID went through in
Right.
2021. They seem to react a little bit differently with labor. They don't claim they have labor issues,
Right.
but we saw lead times extend out on some of our import plumbing lines, for instance. We're out into 2023
Wow.
for deliveries on some of those components.
Right. Right. Interesting.
So, what are some things that AY or your groups maybe in particular have done over the last year or so to try and embrace these challenges?
Analytics is another thing. We've really embraced analytics, and there's so much going on right now. You kind of got to sort through all of it and see what is the most important thing, and using analytics and some of the tools we have now where we can kind of see the whole supply chain, gives us better visibility to that. To Ben's point on dual sourcing, it's kind of been the ebb and flow. Everybody is into lean manufacturing and not carrying inventories and going to one supplier to reduce cost and transportation costs and all this stuff. And I think we've always kind of been in the position of, we're going to carry inventory, and we started this dual sourcing thing just to purchasing, and PIC people are just kind of risk adverse. We like to stay off the radar, right? if we have product and we have backups, we stay off the radar. So Ben's 100% right on that. We're just going to continue to do that and just try to reduce the risk in the supply chain, so we're better protected there.
Yeah, I do feel like both your groups are kind of some of those departments that, not that you forget about, but that you don't realize.
Oh, yeah. No,
customer service, that's customer facing. Everybody knows about that. The work in the factory and the foundry, but it's all the stuff that happens in between there that I think gets overlooked sometimes.
Yeah, I always liken it to when I was in the sales department. It's like you want the phones ringing, you want to be busy, you want the orders coming in, you want customers calling, and there's a lot of departments like that. But in And purchasing and PIC, like when you hear crickets and nothing's going on, then it's like, all right, we're
doing well.
where everything's doing good. So
No news is good news.
We like to fly below the radar and have nobody even notice that we're there, because then we know things are probably going pretty well.
You talk about analytics. You've had to kind of look at, you can look at a 5-10 year trend, but then over the last 2 years, it's had to have just thrown out the window. I mean, as far as those analytics, and it's to a certain extent a guessing game at a certain point, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think anybody could have guessed what COVID was going to do to our lifestyles and people. I think the thought was, the sky is falling. When COVID hit, everybody's dropping their inventories, laying people off, and all of a sudden it's like it didn't take that big dip, and it started to ramp up real quick. So everybody's trying to get all the material at once, and I don't think anybody can predict how COVID impacted our lives. Even, people just changed the way they live, moving out of cities, working remotely, doing all these things, that remodeling, everybody's homes projects they did during COVID. I don't think anyone saw that coming and realized how that was going to change our lives.
Yeah. How has the last 2 years kind of affected the shipping? I know you do a lot of stuff from overseas. I mean, how has that really affected?
Yeah.
I was going to say a lot of those ships are just sitting out there just kind of floating around waiting for
They're anchored off of the coast,
yeah.
and some of them sit there for a month or so before
Wow.
they can get into port. And you're talking a container that can hold a vessel that can hold 10,000 containers. When they unload that, you got to have chassis and trucks and warehouse space to get that all offloaded and back onto the rail or highways to get it to its destination.
Is there one bottleneck? Like it's kind of slowed that whole thing down as far as whether it be chassis or drivers or whatever
It's
it
a
might
lot
be.
of things.
Is it?
It's a lot of things.
Yeah.
You mentioned chassis. That was, if you followed the news last year, that was 1 month's problem. The
Yeah.
next one was warehouse space. Not enough labor, not enough time to actually get the vessel into the port to unload it. So there's been a lot of changes that have occurred, at least in the last 3 months, to try and alleviate a lot of that port issue. But there's the predictions for 2022 for incoming freight to the U.S. is still on par with what it was going to be, or what we experienced in 2021, which I think was about 20% higher than anything we had in the past. So we're still getting heavy imports.
So what you're saying is it's not leveling out at that; it's going to gain another 20%.
No, I think the predictions are that 2022 should be similar to 2021 for the imports.
Right.
So it might not get any better, but it might not get any worse.
You would think they'd
We've
be
slowed
able
the
to
bleeding.
figure it out and get better through 2022, but time will tell.
Right. So if you put your crystal ball in front of you and kind of look through it, what does this year look like, do you think, from your perspective?
What kind of Christmas are you two going to have?
Exactly.
Well, I think we've already conceded that it's going to be much the same as 2021 in terms of, all the supply chain issues that are going to linger out there. I think kind of the things we hear is maybe in 2023 it'll start to soften a little bit. Might be late 2023 or 2024 before we kind of get back into a normal zone that we're used to. But all of our suppliers and, a lot of people we talk to in the industry, they have such big backlogs yet, and people are still trying to get labor and still trying to get product in the door. So I think it's going to be with us for a while yet.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, Brad. It's going to be a while to dig out of this hole that everybody is in. I think I don't know, I'm seeing some light, maybe summer 2022 when some of these dual sourcing activities on key products come on board, and maybe Q3, Q4 looks like light at the end of the tunnel, at least from my perspective.
Sure.
Well, and from the manufacturing perspective, we're also adding cells and co-workers and kind of tackling it from that side of things. I don't know if you wanted to add anything about that or...
Yeah, just, obviously to keep up with demand, we have to hire a lot of people. We have to get new equipment. and a lot of those things are underway right now. Obviously, the challenge is people too. The unemployment rates is low. Everybody's fighting for labor, but certainly that's kind of top of mind for the manufacturing group. Is we need the people, we need the equipment, so we can start churning out more products to keep shipping goods to our customers.
Yeah, it's hard to find a place driving up and down the street here that doesn't have a help wanted sign. And
Yeah.
I mean, even when you're looking at it, regardless of the industry, it's restaurants, the hospitality industries, whatever it is, it's just getting killed by the lack of people to work.
Yeah, same story we hear from all the people we talk to.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody has a silver bullet, so it'll be a challenge.
One thing I think is interesting is, places like Walmart and even fast food places, they just keep raising their wages. So my kids have a totally skewed vision of what their worth is.
Right.
I'm only making $15 an hour. I'm like, you do hardly anything for your job. Your skills are limited. Let's not complain.
Yep.
So I wonder if that'll come back around and then.
Yeah, and it's far from the $1.50 you used to get for a paper out. I mean,
Yeah.
it's great starting wages for everybody. I mean, inflation's an issue that we're dealing with too, but that all kind of leads to inflation and all the price increases we're seeing as well too. It all kind of rolls up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is very, very fresh, obviously. So you may not have any idea right now, but specifically for Ben. You were looking at what Russia and Ukraine and what's happening over there. Have you seen or heard anything from our suppliers as far as issues with that? Again, it might be too early to tell.
Only one supplier that we deal with in Italy on our pump product.
Okay.
They have a subsidiary office in Moscow, and they also have a number of customers in the Ukraine. So we were on the call with them last Friday morning, and they gave us that news that they would have to put some focus and efforts onto what is going to happen with that side of their business.
Right.
But a direct effect on AY McDonald was nothing.
Yeah.
They would still be able to manufacture product because it's in Italy.
Yeah. It's more of the trickle-down effect of they don't have a grommet, they don't have this, so we can't get the whole thing made, so to speak.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think I don't think we've seen big spikes in raw materials because of it. I think oil's been going up to a high, but so far it seems kind of limited on our exposure with what's going on in Ukraine.
Just watching it today, watched oil spike 10%. Copper jumped up a little bit, but it's so unpredictable these days.
Did your blood pressure go up along with it?
We watch it every day. We watch the ingot and copper every day because that's our business. And it's just looked like this now for the past 6 months, and there's no calmness to it. And we're just looking for it to be calm again so we can predict the future, and it hasn't happened.
Yeah, forecasting at a time like this.
Yeah.
Must
tough.
just be
It's impossible.
a shot in the dark.
Yeah.
And I'm fortunate enough where I'm able to see what these guys do a lot during the day, and a lot of stress between your two groups. How do your groups handle that? I mean, you got customers screaming, you got territory managers wanting this, wanting that, product managers. Product management can be the hardest group to deal with. I'm quite sure.
Well, I tell our groups, hey, we talk to our sales group and purchasing groups and things like that, but we don't have to talk to the end user. So you might feel stressed, but I'm sure it's more difficult probably when you're on the front lines, and we're a little bit removed from the front lines, but you just kind of got to adapt and not take it home with you, and you're doing everything you can, right? So like I said, we got Ben who's always smiling. He's a calming factor. Our group takes it pretty well back there, and we, just kind of talk about that. And like, guys, we're doing everything we can. You can't take this personally, and do your best not to let it affect you too much.
I'd say our system that's in place helps even it all out. There's only so much that we can physically make in a day, right? So the planning team knows what that is, relays it back through purchasing, expedite this, push these back. We're kind of reacting in our department to what the needs are out of planning and inventory control. And It'd be great to have a stock situation
Yeah.
again soon, but that's not the world we live in right now. So
Right.
that's what we're reacting to.
You mentioned don't take it home, so we've talked all about work. So tell us a little bit about your home life or what you do outside of work for fun.
Go ahead, Ben.
I grew up a farm boy, so I got 6 brothers and no sisters. So there's 7 boys that grew up on a farm. You can imagine that life. But we get together quite a bit, maybe once a month or so, and it's fun. It could be rowdy,
I
and
bet.
stupid.
Is
you
there
know,
a farm around here, around Dubuque here?
it is. It's across the Mississippi.
Okay.
Dad still owns the farm and rents it out because none of us kids wanted to do farming.
You don't ever go up and help or anything like that?
There's nothing to do anymore.
No?
It's all automated. It was all manual growing up, but now
Yeah.
everything is. It's simple life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
But I'm married. Have a daughter that graduated high school last year, and then a stepson who also just graduated and is going to college, and then 2 stepdaughters. So
Wow.
there's grandkids in there somewhere, and they're a lot of fun too.
Wow.
Nice.
You're a grandfather?
I am.
You
Can
are
imagine
too young
that?
to be a grandfather.
I know,
Grandpa
but it's
Ben.
fun.
I was going to say, it looks like he's 32, you know? Holy cow.
Yeah, for me, yeah, I say I grew up on a farm too. My kids tell me it wasn't a farm, it's just a pretend a farm, but grew up in the country. One brother, currently live in Dubuque with my wife and 3 kids. All 3 of them were 8, 13, and 17, so we'll have our daughter going off to college next year, which starts to make you feel a little old. And for us, it's chasing kids around. Kind of do whatever they do, follow their activities. Whenever we can, try to get a vacation in, sneak out, do some things outside, but yeah, we'll be living their lives for 10 years yet.
Kind of how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when it's over, I'm sure I'll miss
And
it.
then we'll be bored.
I'm always
We'll
like,
be bored out of
I'm
our
always
mind.
running, but I'm
Yeah.
sure when I'm not, I'll
Well,
miss it.
Doug might. Yeah, I
I
think
was
Doug
gonna
will.
say, that happens for like a month or 2.
You don't miss
You're
all those
bored.
swim meets?
No, not missing the swim
telling
meets at
your
all. It's they know. Yeah, there's no surprise to them. So yeah, empty nestings. That's not such a bad thing. Yeah.
I'm gonna ask Kim if she thinks empty
Oh, don't ask it.
nesting
No,
is-
no. That I can guarantee you that's gonna be not the same answer there. So, so as far as the short term, long term, we kind of covered that. The future, obviously, we when we talk to AY and McDonald employees, coworkers, we always talk about customers, the boss. If you were to talk to the customer today, what would you tell them as far as what we're doing in order to get them what they need?
I mean, we're doing everything. We've got a lot of plans out there to improve our output. I mean, there's 1,000 things going on. There's as many things going on in this company as I can ever remember, and it's all focused on getting more product out to the customer. So, the answer is we're doing everything we can to get more out the door to them, and that won't stop until we get there. And a lot of change goes along with that. We're doing things that we haven't done before. We're just doing things differently, and whatever we can think of to improve our productivity and throughput, we're looking at every option we can to get more product out the door, and things I never thought we would probably do here. But times change, we got to change with it. So, guess message is we're working on it as hard as we can.
Hang with us.
Hang with us.
Yep. Yeah, and to support that with Brad, it's we call it "Where's My Stuff" initiative. You can use a different word in place of stuff if you want to, but that's the question that our end customer is calling into customer service and sales every day. Where's my stuff? That naturally trickles through the system and ends up at purchasing. Where's my stuff? And we're asking that same exact question to our key suppliers. We need our stuff, and we need it by this time in order to keep our plans in place. Most of them have responded extremely well and have put that additional capacity in place. And we're not stopping. I mean, we call it dual sourcing, but I've got 3-4 sources on key product here to make sure that we do not run into issues going forward.
Yeah.
And if we do, we've got reliable second sources set up that we can jump towards.
Yeah, I would imagine you really take a close look at who your good partners are.
Yeah.
Not just any vendor, but who's really kind of in it with you.
Had some good advice from one of our key suppliers who was our dual source on some product until they were overloaded in 2021, and we lost them as a dual source. And their advice was, be best friends with your current source. Be their buddies. Call them every week. Whatever they send you, thank them for it.
Send them lunch.
It's a whole different way of doing business. You're not normally sending gifts to your suppliers. It's usually the other way around, but
Right.
it's changed, and we're extremely supportive of our suppliers, and they're helping us out.
Yeah. And I'd say, the one thing, too, that I see is that to Brad's point, but actually to both of your points, this is a 166-year-old company. And the thing that Rob and Scott always say is that we're a 166-year-old company. We just don't want to act like it. And changes, we're willing to accept change. And, these two guys and all the departments are working. And there's no doubt about that the number one objective in the company, regardless of the department, is get the customer the product as soon as we can.
Right.
Yeah, and as hard as these years have been, when we come out of it, we're going to be a lot better than we were.
Right. Yep.
And it makes you do things differently. And I just know when we get there, we're going to be a better company for it. And that'll be an exciting day when that happens.
We've got a plan in place,
Yep.
and we're going to resolve the supply chain issue and help our customers out. I hope they remember that in the future and continue to do business.
Yeah.
We're not here for the next quarter. We're here for the next
166 years.
166 years. I would say 3 or 4 generations.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. No doubt about that. So good. You gonna close it off?
Anything else, Mr. Roush?
No, I can't think of anything.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, Brad and Ben, thank you so much. You are not an introvert. You
No.
are totally covered. I don't know what you're
we
talking
can
about.
hide it well. We can
Yeah,
both
yeah,
hide it
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
I did not realize that the supply chain conversation would be so interesting, actually.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you for sharing all that. I know your jobs are not easy, especially in this last year and a half. But you're very much appreciated within the company and outside of the company. So thank you for sitting down with us.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate
And
it.
For those of you listening and watching, you can go to aymcdonald.com or visit us on all our socials. You can submit ideas to ayafterhours at aymcdonald.com, and we'll see you next time. Dude, easy.
Oh,
Nailed it.
he did. Not even trying.
Nice
One
job.
take.
That was great. Thank you so much.